Hello, I'm Robin. Welcome to Bookspin. So, I've picked up some pretty wonderful books recently, which I'm very excited to read, and I'm excited to share today. So, let's take a look. Starting off with this book, which arrived in the post just today, Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is actually an advance review copy sent to me by the publisher, Pan Macmillan, so thank you very much. This book will be released on the 27th of February. I'm really excited about this one, so I plan to read and review it sometime before then, I think, if I get time. This will be my 6th Tchaikovsky book to read. I've enjoyed everything I've read by him so far, and this looks pretty intriguing. It says on the cover, "They looked into darkness. The darkness looked back. An utterly gripping story of survival on a hostile planet." Sounds intriguing, right? So, yeah, I'm super excited about this one. Look out for a review coming soon, sometime. So that is Shroud. Another book which I got recently is Dayworld, A Hole in Wednesday by Philip Jose Farmer and Danny Adams. I've already started reading this book. I'm over halfway through already. This is the prequel to the Dayworld series, which is a kind of dystopian SF thriller. I'm really enjoying it. I'm making my way through the series as a whole. I won't go into any detail now. I will review this book at some point, but probably not for a little while yet, because at some point I want to make a Dayworld series wrap-up video once I've finished all 4 books, and I'll review all of the books in that video. So that is Dayworld, A Hole in Wednesday. Right, so the next 5 books I spent on Blackwell's online bookshop. I had a £50 book voucher to spend, which I got for my birthday back in November, and I finally decided how I wanted to spend it. So I got all of these 5 books from Blackwell's, starting off with The Wall by Marlon Haushofer. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. This is a classic German or Austrian novel. It was translated from German. And it's a kind of dystopian, post-apocalyptic tale told from the point of view of a woman learning to survive by herself in the Austrian mountains. And this book's been on my radar for quite a long time. I finally found a copy. I look forward to reading it. The second book I picked up from Blackwell's is The Furies by Keith Roberts. This is a 1960s sci-fi horror novel featuring giant killer wasps. So I heard about this book via Jake on his channel Pulp Mortem as one of his top reads of 2024, and it instantly intrigued me. I love my creature features. So it sounds like my cup of tea. My only disappointment with this particular book is this is a print-on-demand copy. So it's got quite a plain cover. There's nothing on the back, no blurb at all. And I think it would have been nice to have a vintage copy with a nice cover art. But never mind, I'm sure I'll still enjoy this. And then the next book is another translated classic. This is Professor Dowell's Head by Alexander Belyayev. And this is another print-on-demand edition, but in this case, I think it's much nicer presentation. This is a classic SF horror novel, this time from the 1920s, translated from Russian. It's a classic mad scientist tale, originally published as a novelette before being expanded into a novel. I have read the novelette version before. It's really entertaining. I talked about it in my Mad Scientist video that I read last year. So I read the short story in a Russian SF anthology, but I was always curious to go further and explore the full-length novel. So now I think I've got this book. I think I would like to read this at some point. The next book is Roadmarks by Roger Zelazny, SF Masterworks edition. So this, as I understand it, this is a kind of experimental time travel novel. And this will be my next Zelazny book to read. I've read 3 of his books so far. I've enjoyed all of them. And I'm intrigued to see what he does with this one. And the final book, which I got from Blackwell's, is Philip K. Dick's Counterclock World. So one of the things I want to do this year is read more Philip K. Dick. You could call that a New Year's resolution, if you like. I need to read more PKD. I need to read The Man in the High Castle. I need to read more of his short stories. This is, I think, one of his lesser known novels, but it caught my attention after I heard about its premise, which is pretty far-fetched. Okay, take a look at this blurb. Sebastian Herms wishes his future was history. In the counterclock world, time runs backwards. People are born in their graves, dug up when they can start speaking, and are reintroduced into society where they grow younger before returning to the womb to be unborn. The Hobart phase has been reversing time since 1986, and nothing has quite been the same since. The library is the most powerful and most feared organisation in the world, responsible for the eradication of records from history for events which have no longer happened. Anarch Peak, a black religious leader, is due to be old-born, and the library wants him dead. With a feud already developing in religious communities throughout the world, Seb Herms is sent to retrieve Anarch from his captors. He must succeed before tensions trigger an all-out religious war. That sounds like a right mind-bender, even by PKD standards. And yeah, I've got to give that a try at some point. Right, now the next book I got as a Christmas present is a beautiful anthology from Flame Tree Press. This is Robots and Artificial Intelligence Short Stories. Look at that hardcover. Nice and shiny. There's a lot of stories in here. Quite small print. I'm going to show you the contents page. So if you're interested, you can pause and take a look at, see what's available in here. There is, in fact, a third contents page. There's a lot of content in here and very nicely presented. So that's a lovely anthology to add to the collection. Now, the final 5 books I'm going to talk about, I picked up today from Worcester. I went on a day trip to Worcester and I got these books in second-hand bookshops. I got some pretty nice finds. Starting off with The View from the Stars by Walter Miller. We've got a nice Chris Foss cover illustration. This is a short story collection. Let me show you the contents page. There are 9 stories, I think. And you can see the second story is The Will. This particular story was recommended to me by Richard Rempel from Vintage SF when he appeared as a guest on this channel for Short Sci-Fi September. So I thought I better pick this up. I better read these stories. I'm definitely up for reading these. Walter Miller is, of course, best known for A Canticle for Leibowitz. which is coming up very soon in my TBR. I've got a Canticle for Leibowitz buddy read coming up with Chris from Liminal Spaces and Bart from Bart's Book Space. We're planning to do that sometime soon, probably in February, but can't wait for that. Super excited. So it'll be nice to combine that novel with perhaps some of his short stories. And finally, today I also picked up 4 books as part of a set. Gene Wolfe's The Book of the New Sun, his classic science fantasy epic. Okay, so I found all of these in one charity shop in Worcester. So I'll show you them each individually. This is the first book, The Shadow of the Torturer, with this lovely Bruce Pennington cover illustration, followed by book 2, which is The Claw of the Conciliator, and book 3, which is The Sword of the Lictor, and book 4, which is The Citadel of the Autarch. So yeah, they all have these wonderful illustrations by Bruce Pennington. So in my experience, it's pretty rare to find Gene Wolfe books out in the wild. So I couldn't resist these when I found them all together. They're not in amazing condition, but they're perfectly acceptable, I think. And it's really nice to have a complete set. I do already have a copy of The Shadow of the Torturer, this one, but I think I prefer the Bruce Pennington one. And like I said, it's nice to have a complete set, matching set. I do generally like Gene Wolfe. His Soldier of the Mist historical fantasy series is one of my all-time favourite fantasy series. I have actually read The Shadow of the Torturer once before, and to be honest, I did struggle with it. I don't remember it particularly well. I do remember it being quite a challenging read, a bit confusing, but I've always wanted to revisit it at some point and read the series as a whole. And now that I've got the full set, I think I've got no excuse not to read them now. So at some point I will try reading this series again as a whole. So I'll reserve these books for a future series at some point. Anyway, those are all of the books which I picked up recently. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.